Yes, bro.
So let's see where we are here. So Vishnu is telling, everybody can see my screen, I think, right?
Yes, we can see, bro.
Okay. Okay, showing compassion. I think we read this verse, but I'll just read the translation. Showing compassion to all living entities. Vishnu is speaking to Kardamuni. He will attain self realization. Giving assurance of safety to all. You will perceive your own self as well as all the universe is in me and myself in you. So, to relieve somebody's anxiety is a big thing. So, that's what the pure devotee does by when he preaches. It takes away the anxiety because he connects them with Krishna. And as long as we are in ignorance, then there is a lot of anxiety. But when we have knowledge, then the anxiety becomes less. We know how things work. Like when you're in ignorance of, let's say, you're in a job and you're ignorant of, they have assigned you some task and you are ignorant of how to perform the task and you don't have enough knowledge, then you're in anxiety. Okay, how will I accomplish what they've asked me to do? But if you have knowledge, if you have help, then it's easy. Then you don't have anxiety. Right? If you have somebody at work who is helping you, or you have some guide or something like that, which will give you instructions on how to resolve your. So it's same thing like that. When you know how things work and how what is Krishna's nature, there is a God behind this creation. You know, then it gives you relief. Yes, Krishna is very kind, and if I surrender to Him, He will take care of me. So I am not this body also, because if you think, the more we think we are this body, the more anxiety will be there. Because then I'm thinking, well, when I die, everything will go away. But if you think, yes, I'm going to live beyond this body, I'm the soul, I will not die. So that just the knowledge can give freedom from anxiety. So, so like that. So that's what the acharyas, the gurus, they do to relieve our anxiety. And anxiety comes because we do the wrong thing, then we have to face the results of those things. So that is also what to do, what not to do. That's also told to us. And they give the blessings so we can follow those things like that. Okay, so, O great sage, I shall manifest my own plenary portion through your wife, Devahuti. So, Devahuti is not an ordinary. Swa Ansha Kalaya. Or, no, not Devahuti, the Devahuti's son, basically. He says, O great sage, I shall manifest my own plenary portion through your wife, Devahuti. So, Devahuti will give birth to Kapila Dev, who is the Ansha of the incarnation of Krishna, along with your 9 daughters, and I shall instruct her in the system of philosophy that deals with the ultimate principles or categories. So Devahuti is being instructed by Kapila Dev. The mother is being instructed by the son. So that's what he's saying. I shall instruct her in Sankhya Yoga. Here in the word Swansha Kalaya. Ansha means part, and Swa Ansha means Krishna's own part. And Kala means the part of the part. Swansha Kalaya indicates that the Lord would appear as the son of Devahuti and Kardam Muni as Kapila Dev, the first propounder of the Sankhya philosophy, which is mentioned here as Tattva Samhita. The Lord foretold to Kardam Muni that he would appear in his incarnation, Kapila Dev, and would propagate the philosophy of Sankhya. Sankhya philosophy is very well known in the world as propagated by another Kapila Dev. But that Sankhya philosophy is different from the Sankhya which was propounded by the Lord himself. So there are 2 Kapilas, and Both have them given Sankhya philosophy. Prabhupada says one philosophy is atheistic, another philosophy is godly. There are two kinds of Sankhya philosophy. One is godless Sankhya philosophy, and the other is godly Sankhya philosophy. The Sankhya propagated by Kapila Dev, son of Devahuti, is godly philosophy. There are different manifestations of the Lord. He is one, but he has become many. He divides himself into two different expansions, one called Kala, another Vibhinansha. Ordinary living entities are called Vipinansha expansions, and the unlimited expansions of Vishnu Tattva, such as Vamana, Govinda, Narayan, Pradyumna, Vasudev, and Ananta, are Swansha Kala. Swansha refers to a direct expansion, and Kala denotes an expansion from the expansion of the original Lord. So Balram, then Balram expands, and then all the different. Baldev is an expansion of Krishna, and from Baldev the next expansion is Sankarshan, and the Sankarshan is Kala, but Baldev is Swansha. There is no difference, however, among them. This is very nicely explained in the Brahma Samhita. Deepar chireva hi dashantaram abhyupetya Deepayate vivrita hetu samana dharma Yastadrigev hi cha Vishnu taya vibhati Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. With one candle, one may light a second candle. With the second, a third, and then a fourth. And in this way, one can light up thousands of candles, and no candle is inferior to another in distributing light. Every candle has the full potential candle power, but there is still the distinction that one candle is the first, another the second, another the third, and another the fourth. Similarly, there is no difference between the immediate expansion of the Lord and his secondary expansion. The Lord's names are considered in exactly the same way. Since the Lord is absolute, his name, his form, his pastimes, his paraphernalia, and his quality all have the same potency. In the absolute world, the name Krishna is the transcendental sound representation of the Lord. There is no potential difference between his quality, name, form, etc. If we chant the name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, that has as much potency as the Lord himself. Nija Sarva Shakti. We say all the potency is there in the name, as powerful as the Lord himself, because Abhinatvam Namanam, because there is no difference between the Lord and his name. There is no potential difference between the form of the Lord from whom we worship and the form of the Lord in the temple. One should not think that one is worshipping a doll or statue of the Lord, even if others consider it to be a statue. Because there is not potential difference, one gets the same result by worshipping the statue of the Lord or the Lord himself. This is the science of Krishna. Any comments? Anything to say? So Vipin Anshas are who?
Living entities. Jivas.
The Jiva. Okay. So the name is Lord himself. It is in sound form, just as deity is Krishna in the metal form or marble form, whatever deity is made up of. So Krishna in sound form, the holy name. So he is incarnated in different ways through different mediums. So through sound. So when we chant Hare Krishna, we have to be in this consciousness that this sound is non-different from Krishna. Radha Krishna, like that. So Prabhupada says like that. We should be aware. Then we'll be more attentive that yes, this is Krishna himself in the sound form. So I should be attentive. Remember that. Okay. The basic philosophy of Krishna consciousness we have heard. Maitreya went on, thus having spoken to Kardama Muni, the Lord who reveals himself only when the senses are in Krishna consciousness, departed from that lake called Bindu Sarovar, which was encircled by the river Saraswati. So it's not like Kardama Muni was free from material desires, but he was devoted and the Lord revealed himself. He had a material desire, he wanted a wife. But still the Lord revealed himself. because he was in Krishna consciousness. So it means like even Lord can reveal to anybody. One word in this verse is very significant. The Lord is stated here to be Pratyag Akshaja. He is imperceptible. Even to who was that? He said, I will. They were performing tapasya for a long time and they wanted Krishna as their son. And then he appeared.
Throne and Dhara.
Throne.
Throne and Dhara.
Throne and Dara. Yeah. Or Rishni and Sutapa. And yeah. Drone and Dara or Yashoda.
Oh, yeah, it's Vrishni and Sutapa.
Rishni, Sutapa, and then. Yeah. So they had and Lord appeared to them. Was it Brahma who appeared? No, first Brahma, maybe the Lord appeared and then say, oh, you want a son like me, but there is nobody like me. So I have to be your son. Something like that.
Yeah.
Is that pastime? The Lord is stated here to be Pratyag Akshaja. Aksha means eyes and Ja means which is perceived by the eyes. Ja means Janma actually. So whatever is perceived by the eyes, Krishna is called Adhokshaja. He cannot be perceived. He is beyond. Adha means beyond. So Adha means also beneath. Adho gachanti tamasa. Krishna says here. So basically, he's above. He's imperceptible to material senses, but still he can be seen. So this is the argument. Many people say, well, God is there, why can't I see him? If I don't see him, I don't believe that he exists. So this appears to be contradictory. We have material senses, but how can we see the Supreme Lord? He's called Adhokshaja, which means that he cannot be seen by material senses. Akshaja means knowledge perceived by material senses. Because the Lord is not an object that can be understood by speculation with our material senses, he is also called Ajita. He will conquer, but no one can conquer him. He is unconquerable, Ajita. What does it mean then that he still can be seen? It is explained that no one can hear the transcendental name of Krishna. No one can understand his transcendental form, and no one can assimilate his transcendental pastimes. It is not possible. Which verse is that? You cannot understand Krishna's name, form without material senses, but only by service attitude, beginning with the tongue, one can.
Pathapi Tade. Oh no. What's that?
Sevan
Tatha Shri Krishna Namadi.
Yeah. Ka bhaved grahya.
Sevan Mukhe Jivado Swayameva Swartiya.
So we can't challenge him to reveal himself. So that's basically submissiveness has to be there. Then only he will reveal. Then how is it possible that he can be seen and understood? That's why we say humility, you have to be humble. If you want to God to reciprocate with you, you have to be humble in heart. You can't be proud and demand that God come before me, So then how is it possible that he can be seen and understood? When one is trained in devotional service and renders service unto him, gradually one's senses are purified of material contamination. When one's senses are thus purified, then one can see, one can understand, one can hear, and so on. Like Prabhupada says, you can see Krishna in the pages of
Bhagavatam.
But what is the condition?
You have to hear with rapt attention. You cannot give rapt attention unless you are pure in mind.
You cannot be pure in mind
unless you are pure in action. You
pure
cannot be pure in action unless you are pure in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending.
So like that. So we have to be pure to approach the pure. But then how will we become pure? That's the other question, right? We are not pure. So how? Is it by our own endeavor we are going to be? No, it is by, yes, of course, we have to chant, we have to desire to chant, and then Krishna will help. So if we want to become pure devotees, we can become pure devotees. Krishna wants us to become pure devotees. Prabhupada says, even if one man becomes a pure devotee, we'll consider our mission a success. In the Bhagavad Gita, he writes. So he wants us all to be pure devotees. But if we want to become pure devotees, we can become. We can become what we want to be. Correct?
Yes, Prabhu. So there is two, both things are important, like two finger short story. Like Mother, your endeavor is in mercy of Krishna. Then only it's possible. And how we'll get the mercy of Krishna when we satisfy and when we serve the devotees of Krishna, as you Sugandha Mother just posted that Prahlad Maharaj verse. So only by the taking the shelter and dust of the lotus feet of Vaishnava, we can completely freed from the materialistic life, material contaminations. Because materialistic life and spiritual advancement can't go together. So when we can free from ourselves from the materialistic point of life and lifestyle, then we can, of course, you said that the desire is important. How intense desire we have to serve the devotees and to go back to Godhead, to be with Krishna. That defines that we are seeking for. Then we are seeking for association of devotees. And in the association of devotees, we do devotional services and render service towards devotees and the Lord. And then gradually our senses purified. Even in this verse also says that when one is trained in devotional service and renders service to him, and gradually one's senses are purified of material contamination. And when it's purified, then we can understand by mercy of Krishna. So both are important, our endeavor and mercy of Krishna.
Yeah, our endeavor may be 1%, 99% may be Krishna's mercy, but that sparrow's endeavor, like to empty the ocean, like that Prabhupada gives the example. So, yeah, and it's impossible, but we have to show to Krishna that we want, and then Krishna will help. So that is what is that? Mahat Kripa Vina. Mahat Kripa Vina.
Sir.
Sansar nahi shoy. What is that word? Mahat Kripa. Krishna prema dure rahe. Sansar nahi shoy. What is that word? Mahat Kripa. Kono karma.
Mahat Kripa vina kono karme bhakti nahi. Krishna bhakti dur raho samsar nahi shoy. Unless one is favored by a pure devotee, one cannot attain pure devotional service. To say nothing of Krishna bhakti, one cannot even be relieved of the samsara, the bondage of material.
Mahat Kripa Vina. Yes. Okay. So that's when one's senses are purified, then one can see, one can understand, one can hear. Because right now our spiritual senses are covered. So when we purify, then with spiritual vision, we can see. In the soul has spiritual senses. Soul is not without any senses, but they are like, covered over by this material body and the material senses. So, by devotional service, we actually awaken our spiritual senses. That's how they say. And then we can see with spiritual vision. The purification of material senses and perception of the transcendent form, name and quality of Krishna are combined together in one word. Pratyak Akshaja, which is used here.
It's same as
so in one.
Go ahead, Mataji.
So in one lecture, I heard Srila Prabhupada explain Akshaj in a slightly different way. He said, in the alphabet, we have A and Ksha. And they are like the two ends of the alphabet, and in between we have all the other. So basically, he was saying the same. It's the same thing, right? Like material knowledge. So Krishna is above that, and And it's similar to that verse in Bhaja Govindam, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukrim Karane. So basically, all this grammar, knowledge of grammar and everything is not going to help you. So what do we have to do? Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. So it's, this was just in one place that I heard Srila Prabhupada explain Adhokshaja in that way.
That's a nice explanation. And Ksha. So Ksha is like the last. And,
Yeah. And that's how Akshar comes, right? The word Akshar means alphabet.
So everything that can be covered by this material is beyond that. Okay, yes, you want to say something?
I was just saying that Narottam Das Thakur's song we were memorize. Vishaya chhadiya kabe shudh hobe mana, kabe herabo Shri Vrindavana. When the mind is completely purified of material anxieties and material desires for sense gratification, then I will be able to understand Vrindavan and the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna. So when we think of ourselves as the enjoyers, then we can't, understand Radha and Krishna because they are the supreme enjoyers. Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam. Then they don't reveal themselves. We can't see them because we are considering ourselves as a center, like everything for my enjoyment.
Yeah, and that's so like deep rooted that it's like in the conditioned state. So to reverse that is the difficult part. We see ourselves as the enjoyer in everything.
So Brahmaji also says that it's actually will come much further down in our spiritual path. He says one can see the Lord with eyes anointed with the pulp of love. Again, tall order. So all these steps of purifying ourselves, purifying actions, purifying thoughts will eventually lead there. But hence like when we go in front of the deities, the deity is non-different from Krishna, and we cannot perceive that because our eyes are covered with the cataract of materialism to different degrees, not the same for everyone. But ultimately, it's Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena.
Yeah, that's why we thought, yes, Radha Krishna are enjoying. I too can enjoy. So we came to this material world. That's how we say why we are here in this material world. Because we wanted to.
We didn't want to see Krishna. That's why he has hidden himself.
Correct. Yeah, we wanted to see ourselves. Yeah. In 7:7 he says, yeah, Mattavarapuram Nanyat, Kinchidashti Dhananjaya. Kinchidashti Dhananjaya.
Mai sarvamidam purtam sutre maninkaniva. Like the thread cannot be seen in the necklace of pearls.
So in material world, Krishna has hidden himself because if he shows himself as the enjoyer, then our enjoyment will be hindered. So he has hidden himself, and so everybody can think that they are enjoyers, and everybody is trying for that. Actually, we enjoy more, right? We say, of course, the goal is to enjoy, but the thing is, we enjoy more when we facilitate or serve Krishna than when we serve. This is the difficult part to get it. That I will enjoy more by serving Krishna than trying to satisfy my senses individually, separate from Krishna. That's the shift in the consciousness that needs to happen. But that's the very difficult part. That yes, by serving Krishna's senses and Krishna, then I will become very happy, even more happier than when I try to serve my own senses independently of Krishna. Right? That's the if this realization, if one gets it, then it's like you can become dedicated to serving Krishna. The more one gets this realization. So that's why Krishna gives us experiences in this world, that you're trying to serve your senses, but what has happened? It has given you misery. But sometimes it doesn't that realization doesn't come about, and we think it's not. Yeah, I enjoy it actually. Really, I ate nice food or whatever in the restaurant, not prasadam, but I went on a vacation and I enjoyed. How can you say I didn't enjoy? So when I enjoyed my senses, I did enjoy. How can you say I didn't enjoy? So that's the. But there has to be some, suffering that has to come after that. Then we realize, oh no, that was not actually enjoyment. So it's not very evident because we are used to like that enjoying in this world.
So it's very interesting. In the English language, the word travel comes, its etymology is actually, it comes from the word travail. Travail means suffering. And yet today, because in those days, travel was suffering, and even today it is, although we have forgotten. We're so covered over, and we just don't know what is suffering and what is enjoyment anymore. We do things, it's like women who wear high heel shoes. It's not enjoyment, but they go through intense suffering just to fulfill this mold that the society has created. Similarly, we travel for fun, so-called fun, just because that's the mold we want to fit into. The society has created that we have to go on vacation and we have to come back and tell everybody about it. So.
Yeah.
About that, so that was an interesting point, Ishwar Priyamati, and what you were saying, Prabhuji, about like how that we have to realize that we can actually enjoy in the service of the Lord. So I was hearing Amog Lila Prabhu, and he usually comes up with this very startling sort of realization. He was saying that if you notice devotees, there is like Krishna is standing in his deity form, but the devotees are like dancing and like merrymaking, going wild, and then after that like they take prasadam. So who is enjoying more? Even if we have to convey this idea that one can actually enjoy in the Lord's service, and at the same time not get stuck, not get caught up in this cycle of doing like performing an activity in cycle of karma. Here's an example that this is how the devotees they enjoy a lot, and it's visible. It's not something that's like happening internally and we don't have an insight into see what is happening inside. Of course there is, but externally it's also being manifested that they're just enjoy, so like sadhu sangha. I have heard that like it people go wild there, wild not in the sense of they would do at a rock concert, but wild in the sense wild with like bliss and ecstasy. So but the Lord is standing in the center. He's not doing anything. Of course he is accepting the services, and he's reciprocating. That is why we are enjoying, but we actually enjoy more than the Lord in that case. So something that he was sharing, and I found that, oh yeah, really, I never thought about that.
Then instead of you going to a disco and dancing there, you are saying that dancing before the Lord, and that's more enjoyable than going to some party and dancing in the party. Right? That's what he was saying.
Yeah. So in Mumbai they have Radha Gopinath temple, and apparently there is also a disco called which is abbreviated RGs. So Gauranga Prabhu once he was sharing that so some newcomers, new guys, like younger folks, they said that, oh Prabhuji, we can't come today, we have to go somewhere. And then he found out that they need to go to this disco called RGs. I said, oh, we have RGs too. Why don't you come to our RGs? We'll do the same thing. So yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, Krishna consciousness is a very joyful process. Chanting, dancing, and feasting.
Yes, Susukham Kartam Abhyayam. Yeah, that is true.
Kevala Ananda Kanda. the process that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us. Parama Karuna, that song, it says it's simply joyful.
And to experience the joy, it may take some time, but I mean, prasadam, to at least it is joyful. Kirtan is also nice. Japa may be difficult. Rising early in the morning may be difficult. But yeah, other things are very joyful, especially Kirtan and prasadam. Philosophy, some people may say, yeah, I like it, I don't like it, I don't know. Sometimes it's difficult to digest the philosophy. But music and food is dancing but philosophy is also very nice. I like to hear classes sometimes more than uh, anything else. It's just when you hear from very realized souls and they share their realizations and talk about them. That's very nice to hear this Bhagavatam from them. Because many people, we need intellectual conviction more and more. So by hearing from all the devotees, then we get that conviction. It's a mystical thing. Their conviction transmits to us through the sound vibration. That's why hearing is very important. And
So, can I share something interesting that I heard recently?
yeah.
On this? So, Hanumat Preshak Maharaj was saying this. It was a very kind of aha moment. So basically, he was saying that we give. So there's a saying. Actually, it's more a Tamil proverb. Says that if what is in the pot only can come out in the ladle. So if you don't have something in the pot, you cannot take it out in the ladle, right? So basically, so he was saying that what we convey. So he was giving this example of a math professor or teacher in school, and turns out this person hates mathematics, but somehow he became a math teacher. So he was asking, what do you think he will teach the students? He will teach the student, even though he's apparently teaching math, he's teaching the students how to hate mathematics. So what we have within is so the speaker, whatever they have within themselves, that's what they're going to transmit to all the listeners. So what you were saying, Prabhuji, that when we hear from them, they may not even say that explicitly in their lecture, but we get that internal bhava that they have.
Yes. It's there. That's how Prabhupada transmitted that bhakti in his heart to all those who didn't hear about Krishna. And he was not speaking but that bhakti in that heart transmits to others. So that's how. Okay, Harit Prabhu, thank you for.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. While the sage stood looking on, and we'll just read this last verse. While the sage stood looking on, the Lord left by the pathway leading to Vaikuntha, a path extolled by all great liberated souls. So another thing I was thinking, you may not have a lot of knowledge, but if you have bhakti, that bhakti will transmit. Or you may not speak. Like Prabhupada's lectures are very short and basically he speaks many things, but I'm saying very philosophical, but still that mood of surrender was transmitted to all his disciples, and so many people became surrendered because he himself was surrendered. So whatever that himself was surrendered, he had devotion for Krishna, and that thing, went into the heart. So
yeah, that illiterate Brahmana also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met, right? He couldn't read Bhagavad Gita, but he was crying, seeing how Krishna has become the chariot driver of Arjuna. Just that one thing, he had that bhav in him. That's the supreme most thing. Knowing all the verses, scriptures, quoting it philosophically. Unless it leads to that emotion and bhav for Krishna, it's not, will not help.
And yeah, it will take time, so we have to be patient also. We can't expect overnight result because we have been in this material world for so long and conditioning is there. So, but we have to really sincerely like make an effort as much as possible. Like there is a lecture by Radheshyam Prabhu. He says, "Try your best and leave the rest." So that's all we can do. What we can do is according to our capacity, we can try as much as we can, try our best, and then that's all we can do. But like the squirrel was trying its best in Ramayana, and Hanumanji was doing his best. So we can do as much as we can. We can't be like somebody else because we are not, our capacity is not that much. So we have our limitations and things like that. So, but honestly, we try, and then our capacity also increases because as we get out of the modes of nature, then we can do more things. Our freedom to exercise our free will also becomes more when because we become also empowered by the Lord, and then we can do so many things, which a lot of devotees have done. They've built temples and they've started projects, and so many all over the world they've done so many wonderful things. And there was nothing when they started with, and then big things manifest. So even if big things not manifest, that's not the criteria for success. But yeah, the consciousness changes and you can do more bhakti even personally. So while the sage stood looking on, so Vishnu left. The Lord left by the pathway leading to Vaikuntha, a path extolled by all great liberated souls. The sage stood listening as the hymns forming the basis of Samved were vibrated by the flapping wings of the Lord's carrier Garuda. So when Garuda vibrates his wings, Samved is generated, Samved is produced, or yeah, something like that. So in Vedic literature it is stated that the two wings of the transcendental bird Garuda, who carries the Lord everywhere, are two divisions of Samved, known as Briyat and Rathantar. Garuda works as the carrier of the Lord and therefore is considered the transcendental prince of all carriers. And we may think, how is it possible? Somebody vibrates their wings and Samved's verses are... So it is inconceivable. With his two wings, Garuda began to vibrate the Samved, which is chanted by great sages to pacify the Lord. The Lord is worshipped by Brahma, by Lord Shiva, by Garuda and other demigods with selected poems, and great sages worship him with the hymns of Vedic literatures, such as the Upanishads and Samved. Like we have that verse, right? Om Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruta Stunvanti Divyaisthavai Vede Sangopada Kramopanishade Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tatkatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyantam Na Vidu Sura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. So in that also it says how the Lord is praised by the Samved. And so Samved, out of all the Atharva, Sam, Rig and Yajur, Samved is especially glorifying the Lord. These Samved utterances are automatically heard by the devotee, and when another great devotee of the Lord, Garuda, flaps his wings. Of course, I have not read Samved, I have just heard about it. We don't have to read also. Sometimes people come when we are distributing books, they say, do you have this Atharva Ved and this Yajur Ved and this Ved? And we said these books have everything, but they want to read some Upanishad. And of course, Isha Upanishad is published by BBT, Prabhupada has written that. Katha Upanishad, there are so many Upanishads, Shvetashvatar Upanishad, Mundak Upanishad. But whatever books we have, that those are enough. We don't have to. What Prabhupada has given us is all the essence. This Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Upanishads. Sarva Upanishada Gava, Dogda, Gopalanandana. So we don't have to read like so many things. Prabhupada says 5 books are enough, right? He said, which books? He said Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Then Krishna book and teachings
Bhakti
of
Rasana Sindhu.
maybe Nectar of Devotion,
Nectar.
something like that. He said so because we can become pandits in so many things, but that's not the goal. Of course, if it enhances our devotion, and that's good. We have Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which we should also read. Prabhupada also says we should read the books of, but first at least read our basic books. There is always like people say this, I want that Shiv Puran, I want this Puran. And so we can not read everything. Yeah, you want to say something? Okay, it is clearly stated here that sage Kardama began to look to the path by which the Lord was being carried to Vaikuntha. It is thus confirmed that the Lord descends from his abode, Vaikuntha, in the spiritual sky and is carried by Garuda. The path which leads to Vaikuntha is not worshipped by ordinary class of transcendentalists. Only those who are liberated from material bondage can become devotees of the Lord. Those who are not liberated from material bondage cannot understand transcendental devotional service. In Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated, Yatatam api siddhanam. Yatatam api siddhanam. What are the words? It's there here, I think.
Manushyanam sahasreshu.
Manushya.
Kashchid yatati sitate yatatam.
Kaschin mam veti tatvata.
Yatatam api siddhanam kashin mam. Many thousands of people, one inquires about the absolute truth, and those who are inquiring about absolute truth, hardly one attains perfection. And of those who have attained perfection, hardly one knows being truth, something like that. So, there are many persons who are trying to attain perfection by striving for liberation from material bondage. And those who are actually liberated are called Brahma Bhuta or Siddha. Only Siddhas or persons liberated from material bondage can become devotees. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na Sojati na Kankshati Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu na Mad Bhakti Labhati Para. And this Brahma Bhuta, that's the definition. He feels Navya Vadridaya Yajgno. So he feels newer, fresh and fresh. So Krishna says, Mad Bhakti Labhate Param in that verse. He says, Bhakti begins when we are free from material desires. No sochati. Though it may be discouraging to us, but Krishna accepts bhakti, even mixed bhakti Krishna accepts. But by doing mixed bhakti and trying to become pure, then one day we'll become pure. Otherwise, the mixed bhakti path can give a high position in the material world, like the demigods, and we can rotate in the cycle of birth and death with mixed bhakti. We can be
So
nice.
this is very interesting. Sorry. So this is very interesting. So, today the verse that we were reading, na yoga siddhim, right? So we don't want any siddhi. And usually, at least I understood the word siddhi to be a kind of perfection, which is in a material sense. But this is very interesting that in this case, siddha is equated to a Brahma Bhuta, which is the siddha. And he says only the siddhas or persons liberated from material bondage can become devotees. So it is like siddha in the sense of perfection in devotion.
Siddha means those are free from. Siddha means perfect also. Siddhi. So perfection. So Siddha, one who has become perfect. So only the Siddhas.
Siddha Purush.
Siddha Purush. persons liberated from material bondage, means free from material desires, can become devotees. He's saying. Only the siddhas or persons liberated from material bondage can become devotees. So I think the way he is using is for those who are perfected. I mean, but you can't become really. I mean, pure devotees maybe means can become devotees means pure devotees.
Mm.
Because how will you liberate? How will you become liberated from material bondage without becoming a devotee also? So it's like a loop. You can't be liberated from material bondage without becoming a devotee. But then it says only those who are liberated from material bondage can become devotees. So I think it's like mixed devotees first, and then after that you become pure devotee. You become slowly, like that verse. What is that? Mixed devotee, the one who rises to the platform of Brahman in the Bhagavad Gita. Mam cha yovya bicharena
Bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samititetan brahma
brahma bhoya kalpate. So he says yes. Then by engaging in devotional service, you rise to the platform of Brahman. Means you come to Brahma Bhuta stage. Means where you have no. So by bhakti yoga only you can rise, and then also you perform bhakti yoga in the purified state. Also you perform bhakti yoga. So initially it is like mixed bhakti yoga, then it becomes pure bhakti yoga. So maybe mixed devotees can, like Dhruva Maharaj was a mixed devotee, then he became pure devotee. So, but I think it's a dangerous path, the path of mixed bhakti. There's many lectures like that. The path of mixed bhakti is dangerous.
So in, I think it was in chapter 25 of the third canto or 26 of the third canto, Srila Prabhupada, there's one verse there, avikaritva. There's the word in the verse is avikaratva. So generally we will say avikaratvam is actually something that is not modified, right? Vikar, like distorted, right? But Srila Prabhupada chooses to translate that word as without distraction. And then in the next verse, it says that this path is like a razor's edge. And we've heard that several times. He says it's like a razor's edge. So if we, even 1 second, if our attention wavers, it's like when we are, men who shave. When they shave, they have to be very careful because even a moment's distraction can cut the skin. So that's the example that Srila Prabhupada gives. And so the mixed devotion is almost impossible in that sense because you're in both places and you're going to be distracted regardless. I mean, no matter how much you try, distractions will come. Is that why, probably, you said that mixed devotion is a dangerous path?
Like you can do offenses to, like Indra, for instance, he's a mixed bhakta, so he makes offenses to the devotees, like that. So in that way, it's a little dangerous because, of course, we know Vaishnava aparadh is very. So I was thinking on that lines more.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that verse Neha Bikamanashwasti that says that in this path there is no danger.
Correct.
In the sense that although you might fall down, but eventually you come back. Like Ajamil, he fell down, but he came back. Bharat Maharaj example also. So in devotion, I mean, yeah, it's like we have to go through these dangerous things, but there is no loss.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, we'll attain perfection, but Krishna will correct give us, intelligence and everything. Yeah, slowly we'll become perfect. And that's the usual path for everybody. I mean, nobody can become like a pure devotee in one, like, unless they have done it in their previous lives and they've done it for so many lives that they are now ready to just serve Krishna without any material desires. So,
yeah, I heard from Mukundatta Prabhu recently. like he was speaking on purity and maturity or perfection. And he said, even if we are immature, even if we are imperfect, we should always strive to maintain the purity. And then, hote, it will happen. So basically, the purity, it comes from chanting and following the 4 regulative principles. We cannot falter on that. We cannot deviate from that. So the purity, like, the books are the essence. Preaching is the, what is it?
Books are basis, preaching is essence.
Sorry. Books are the basis, preaching is the essence, and then purity is the force, right? So we need that force in our lives, and so basically, what he was saying is the purity. So comes from following the instructions, following the regulative principles and chanting, and then the maturity will take time. It will take a long time, but it doesn't matter. As long as we are in this path, like Mataji was saying, there's no fall down.
Yes, and we will stumble also if supposing we are not, then we can stumble even in following the principles strictly and things like that. I mean, that is the goal, to follow everything nicely, but you can stumble, but then you have to, take shelter, more shelter of Krishna. Correct? I mean, that's the only way to.
Yeah,
And yeah, go ahead.
no problem. I don't have it.
Okay. So, yeah, ultimately, hote, yeah, Mukunda Dutt Prabhu says like that, hote, that you were saying. I remember him, he uses that words. So, like, somebody is attached to eating chicken. So, initially, yeah, they come, they hear the philosophy, and then slowly and gradually it goes away. So, of course, there are difficult regulative principles and there are easy regulative principles. That one Maharaj was saying that there are 3 regulative principles which are easy to follow, or it becomes easier as you come, but there's one regulative principle, and that may be different, but generally he was saying that the other no illicit sex principle is generally not very easy to follow in the strictest sense of the principle. So like that, but as we are endeavoring and we are taking shelter of Krishna, and then with advancement it will become easy. So, and Mahat Kripa, with the blessings of great souls. So, of course, it can be different for different people, which regulative principles, but generally, Amog Lila Prabhu was also saying that, yes, this is the principle that's difficult. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Anyone who is engaged in Krishna consciousness or devotional service is already liberated from the influence of the modes of material nature. Here it is also confirmed that the path of devotional service is worshipped by liberated persons, not the conditioned souls. The conditioned soul cannot understand the devotional service of the Lord. Kardama Muni was a liberated soul who saw the Supreme Lord in person face to face. There was no doubt that he was liberated, and thus he could see Garuda carrying the Lord on the way to Vaikuntha and hear the flapping of his wings, vibrating the sound of Hare Krishna, the essence of Samved. Okay, so Kardama Muni saw the Lord face to face. Okay, so this is where we're going to stop. Anything else anybody like to say? Should we stop here or should we read something?
We can read.
Which one?
I want to read Bhagavatam, then Uddhav section,
Uddhav
and
section.
Ramayana.
Where did we stop in Uddhav section? Here the verse. Did we finish this chapter? I don't think so.
Is it 46, somewhere 30 something? 42, I think, Prabhuji. 42 maybe, yesterday. That's just from memory. I'm not 100% sure. I think it was 42.
Okay. So.
Because he's saying, right, like, you're not the father, is this what we were reading yesterday?
I think we read that.
Yeah, maybe we read 42 and we have to read 43. Something like that.
I don't remember reading Gadagraja. Gadagraja. Did we read this verse? This is 40.
Yeah, bro, we can read this.
Am I on the right chapter? No, this is the wrong chapter. Sorry.
46, chapter 46.
46 chapter. Yeah. The women. Yeah, they rose from the. Yeah, you were talking about that verses yesterday from Govinda, Bilvamangal Thakur's.
Yes, yes.
So I think we read this. Is a little.
So this I remember that he tells that you're not the father or mother, right? Like he's not your son. He's a son, soul, father of everyone.
Right. So this verse, I think, we have to start 47.
We didn't go that far, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, anyway, it's not going to take much time even if we go back.
Yeah, I can read. While Krishna's messenger continued speaking with Nanda, the night ended. O king, the women of the cowherd village rose from bed and lighting lamps worshipped their household deities. Then they began churning the yogurt into butter.
Let me do the advanced view so you don't have to.
Yeah, this is where, right, Mataji, you were saying Uthaya Gopyo Pararatra Bhogi.
Correct. Yeah.
What is that verse? That's the gopis after getting up.
Yeah, that's in the Mataji posted yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that.
Uthaya Gopyo Pararatra Bhogi.
Smitva Yashoda
Sutabalakilin Gayanti Prochedadimanthayantyo Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Having risen early in the Brahma Muhurat and remembering the childish activities of son of Mother Yashoda, gopis loudly sing while churning butter. Govind Damodar Madhav.
This is from the Govind Damodar song, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And then the other verse is from Bhagavatam. That was. So you're saying that based on the Bhagavatam verse, Bilvamangal Thakur wrote his Govinda Damodar Stotram.
Yeah, the Govind Damodar Madhaveti, that's same. He wrote the entire song. Yeah.
Okay. So we can read.
As they pulled on the churning ropes with their Bengal arms, the women of Raj shone with the splendor of their jewels, which reflected the lamp's light. Their hips, breasts, and necklaces moved about, and their faces, anointed with reddish kumkum, glowed radiantly with the luster of their earrings reflecting from their cheeks. As the ladies of Raj loudly sang the glories of lotus-eyed Krishna, their songs blended with the sound of their churning, ascended to the sky, and dissipated all inauspiciousness in every direction. The gopis were absorbed in thought of Krishna and were thus feeling his presence, therefore they could joyfully sing. When the godly sun had risen, the people of Raj noticed the golden chariot in front of Nanda Maharaj's doorway. Who does this belong to? They asked.
So they were joyfully singing, right? Because they were feeling Krishna's presence.
Perhaps Akrura has returned, he who fulfilled Kansa's desire by taking lotus-eyed Krishna to Mathura. The gopis angrily spoke this statement. Is he going to use our flesh to offer funeral oblations for his master, who was so satisfied with his service? As the women were speaking in this way, Uddhav appeared, having finished his early morning duties. This verse reveals the bitter disappointment the gopis felt when Akrura took Krishna away. However, they will be pleasantly surprised to see that the unexpected guest is Uddhav. So they have so much anger for Akrura. You're saying that he has come, what has he gotten, and what is his business to come? Only he might have come to take our flesh for the oblations of Kansa, who was killed.
Knowing that they would have died, right, Akrura came again.
Correct, knowing that they would have died without Krishna. He has come to take their bodies.
Prabhuji, a question, maybe a little off tangent, but Akrura later as well, committed some sins, right? Was it because of the curses of Gopi or harsh? Any clue?
The Krishna book actually, Srila Prabhupada explains that.
Shamantaka Jal conspiracy, yeah, he was involved because he didn't pacify the gopis when he was taking away Krishna. So the gopis called him Krura, he's very cruel.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Okay.
So here the master is referring to Kansa.
Yeah, it's Akrura's master, Kansa. So he's thinking that he has come to take our flesh, because previously they used to offer flesh in the oblations, which is forbidden in this. Like there is 5 things that are forbidden in Kali Yuga. So maybe he's thinking, very so much anger you can see in gopis against Akrura.
Okay. Song of the Bee. This chapter describes how Uddhav, on the order of Lord Sri Krishna, delivered the Lord's message to the gopis, consoled them, and then returned to Mathura. When the young maidens of Raj saw lotus-eyed Uddhav, who wore a yellow garment and attractive earrings, they were astonished at how much he resembled Krishna. Thinking, "Who is this?" they approached and encircled him. When they realized that Krishna must have sent him, they brought him to a secluded place where he could speak to them confidentially. The gopis then began to remember the pastimes they had enjoyed with Sri Krishna, and putting aside all ordinary propriety and shyness, they loudly wept. One gopi, while deeply meditating on her association with Krishna, noticed a bumblebee before her. Imagining the bee to be a messenger from him, she said, "Just as the bees wander among various flowers, Sri Krishna has abandoned the young girls of Braj and developed affection for other women." The gopi continued to speak in this way, contrasting her own supposed ill fortune to her rival lover's good fortune, all the while glorifying the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna. She then declared that although Krishna may have abandoned the gopis, they could not possibly stop remembering him for even a moment. Uddhav tried to console the damsels of Raj, who were so anxious to see Krishna once again. Uddhav explained, while ordinary persons must perform many pious deeds to qualify as servants of Lord Krishna, you simple cowherd girls are so extremely fortunate that the Lord has favored you with the very highest degree of pure devotion for him. Uddhav then related to them the Lord's message. Quoting Lord Krishna, Uddhav said, "I am the supreme soul and supreme shelter of all. By my potencies I create, maintain, and destroy the cosmos. I am indeed most dear to you, gopis. But to increase your attraction for me and intensify your remembrance of me, I left you." After all, when a woman's beloved is far away, she fixes her mind upon him constantly. By incessantly remembering me, you are sure to regain my association without delay. The gopis then asked Uddhav, "Is Krishna happy now that Kansa is dead and he can enjoy the company of his family members and the women of Mathura? Does he still remember all the pastimes he enjoyed with us, such as the Ras dance? Will Sri Krishna once again appear before us and give us ecstasy, just as Lord Indra with his rain gives life back to the forest aggrieved by the summer heat?" Although we know that the greatest happiness comes from renunciation, we simply cannot stop hoping to attain Krishna, for the marks of his lotus feet are still present throughout the land of Raj, reminding us of his graceful gait, generous smiles, and gentle talks. By all these, our hearts have been stolen away. Having said this, the gopis loudly chanted Lord Krishna's names, calling out, O Govinda, please come and destroy our suffering. Uddhav then pacified the gopis with statements that dispelled their pain of separation, and they in turn worshipped him as non-different from Sri Krishna. Uddhav stayed in the district of Braj for several months, giving pleasure to the residents by reminding them about Krishna in various ways. Very satisfied at seeing the extent of the gopis' love for the Lord, he declared, These cowherd girls have perfected their lives by coming to the platform of unalloyed love for Krishna. Indeed, even Lord Brahma is inferior to them. The goddess of fortune herself, who always resides on Krishna's chest, could not get the same mercy as that which the gopis obtained during the Ras dance, when Krishna embraced their necks with his mighty arms. What then to speak of other women? Indeed, I would consider myself most fortunate to take birth as even a bush or creeper that would sometimes be touched by the dust of these gopis' lotus feet. Finally, Uddhav entreated Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd men for permission to go back to Mathura. Nanda presented him with many gifts and prayed to Uddhav for the ability to always remember Krishna. Returning to Mathura, Uddhav offered Balram, Krishna and King Ugrasen the gifts sent by Nanda Maharaj and described to them everything he had experienced in Vraj.
Anything to say? This is a summary.
Yeah, Krishna separates himself from the devotees to increase their eagerness, as we were discussing today about that verse from Vitrasur. So,
Krishna wrote a very small letter, right? It doesn't look like he's written much in the letter. He just that.
a lot of philosophy was there. I'm the super soul, and but also that he told the same thing at the end of the Ras Leela also when he disappeared and he came back. I separated myself from you to increase your love for me. Same thing he said.
Okay. Maybe we can start this tomorrow. Only 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll stop here for today. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.